Hi. Yeah, got me right. Hi everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar today. I'd like to warmly welcome everyone to the second in our series, actually, of our webinar series. This is Time to Talk Scaleups with Bdaily. Today we'll be talking about high business growth in the Northeast. Sorry, for those who don't know me, my name is Jamie Hardesty. I'm the editor of Bdaily. Fortunate enough to have four brilliant speakers with me today. And what we're going to be concentrating on is the scale-up debate. Now, for those who don't know, scale-up is the term that we use to describe high-growth small businesses, which are the real sort of key economic driver when it comes to sort of propelling the economy. So we'll dive straight in. What we're going to be talking about is sort of the challenges that exist around scale-ups. So what are the sort of barriers to entry to high growth firm, and we'll be talking about talent and skills, leadership, infrastructure, and access to finance. We've got a great sponsor today. That's the Northeast LEP. They're doing an absolutely brilliant investigation at the moment about scale-ups. They're very much encouraging sort of small businesses in the Northeast who are looking to grow and to realise their potential to get involved with them. So today we've got Colin Bell from the Northeast LEP. He's the business growth manager, and I'm just going to kick off straight away by speaking to him. I'll be asking each one of our speakers a few questions each. And for all of our audience members, you have the opportunity to ask some questions to our panel at the end, should you wish. So, Colin, are you with me?
I am indeed, Jamie. Thanks for a great intro there.
You're very welcome. It's good to have you with us, mate. Thank you very much. I think it would be very, very useful to sort of start the debate here by asking you about some of the barriers faced by businesses in the Northeast when trying to grow. So that's, what are the most common barriers faced by businesses in the region when they're trying to grow?
Yeah, I think when I think about the barriers to growth, they probably come into predominantly three main areas which are cash, customers, and capacity. The first one, starting with cash, it's normally pretty top of mind for most business owners, but particularly when you've got a growing company, especially a fast-growing company, they eat cash probably more. Quite often, as soon as cash is coming in, it's going back out the door. So they're very cash hungry, and so I think one of the key challenges is managing cash flow, making sure that the business doesn't fundamentally run out of cash, and avoiding over trading, or if you are going to trade very quickly, making sure that the cash is available to facilitate that trading. And I think linked to that, another finance barrier is really around accessing investment capital. Time and time again, companies tell us that they struggle actually raising investment capital. So again, that's one barrier. Moving on to customers, I mean, when companies are growing, they're obviously always looking for new business, new markets, new customers. So again, finding those new markets, breaking into those new markets, and I suppose increasingly, increasing the value of your existing customer base as well tends to be a key areas where companies face barriers. So how do they maybe move customers from incremental one-off transactions to maybe something that's more contractually based, etc. And how do they do that and grow people up the value chain? Tends to be an area people tell us they face barriers. And another area is around capacity. So, and I think there'll be no surprises that people find it difficult to access skills and talent. I think that's probably the most common barrier or challenge that companies tell us about, is the need for talent and skills, and getting people in their businesses who can start to deliver value almost from the day one. And that's often what you need when a business is growing very quickly. You need someone in that business, probably yesterday, who can actually perform a role and deliver value to customers. And then linked to that is probably some barriers around just developing the infrastructure that's required for scale and the supply base that's required for scale. So quite often people, they'll be growing pretty quickly, experiencing that rapid growth, but their supply chain can't keep up with them. All their systems and processes start to crack, and because I haven't done the work up front to put them in place, then that's an area where there's significant challenges for people.
Okay, just to sort of to stop you there, I want to talk about the Growth Hub actually, and I wanted to ask you what the Northeast LEP is doing to sort of reduce these barriers and to allow the growth of more sort of high growth businesses. Could you tell us a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of what the LEP's doing, the Growth Hub's pretty central to our approach to supporting companies. I think in terms of this agenda, and particularly around a focus on scale up and high growth companies, it's really important to recognise that one of the things we've been doing at the moment is refreshing our strategic economic plan. So we've been looking at what the economic data is telling us about the region, and I think one of the things that's came out of that is that there's now a much sharper focus on supporting businesses to achieve high growth. So that's one thing that's really important. But in our vision, our mission, our focus, high growth companies and increasing the density is something that we're really focused on.
Cool.
There's several things, of course, where when we start to look deeper into that and really linked to the challenges that we've just been talking about, where we believe we need to be doing some work to help and support companies. One's particularly around developing leadership and management capability. A lot of the evidence that looks at high growth companies identifies a lack of leadership capability is one of the main things that holds those companies back. So there's two programs we've actually developed that play into that space. One's the manufacturing growth program, and that, I suppose, it does what it says on the tin. It's particularly focused on the manufacturing sector, but businesses with scale up potential within there. Probably two main areas it's focusing on. It's developing leadership capability and also sales capability within those companies. And we've also just launched a mentoring program called Grow Through Mentoring. This is something we're really excited about, and it's something that businesses told us that they want. And the general idea is that it's peer-to-peer support. So if you're a company, you've got high growth potential, you may be turning over £1 million, but you've got the aspiration to go to 3 million. Sometimes it's really useful to speak to another leader from within a business who's maybe at that £3-4 million mark, and they can kind of tell you the sort of things that they did to facilitate that growth and some of the things that you really need to put in place. So the Grow Through Mentoring program is something that's going really well, and we think will have a big impact.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're saying that the LEP are sort of a vehicle in the region who can connect you to the people that you need to speak to when you need this advice.
Absolutely. So we're actively engaging mentors and mentees as well, and matching them together. So you can almost say that we're a dating service for entrepreneurs, people running Scaleups. I think just focusing on the capital, access to capital side of things, and the finance element. One of the things that we're particularly proud to have secured for the region's £120 million funds called the Northeast Fund, which will provide loan and equity finance to growing companies or companies with growth aspirations. And again, all this information on all these programs is available through the online Northeast Growth Hub within the region, and you can actually access over 300 debt finance providers on there as well. So that's the one-stop shop, you could say, or single point of access for any support that's available. So if companies really want to know what's available and they've got that aspiration to grow, then they can go on the Growth Hub and find all the finance and business support that's available for them.
In terms of finance, often, certainly in the UK, we kind of measure economic success by the amount of people who are actually employed, and there's a real sort of incentive to get a lot of startups off the ground. But a lot of startups in the sort of the first 3 years do fail. I think certainly since the new government's come in, and we're kind of having this conversation of how to really propel the economy. The scale-up debate thing is really raging at the forefront. So this idea of the firms who are doing well in a region already, how can we push them to get bigger and to employ more people and to sort of contribute more to the economy? But one thing is, the funding that's accessible, it is often horizontal. It is often to help businesses get off the ground. Do you think that in general there's enough funding for people to go up the ladder, for people to grow vertically?
I mean, it's a really interesting question around funding, and actually access to finance. But if you look at what the pundits or what the figures are telling us at the moment, it kind of suggests that bank and equity finance is probably back at the levels that we were experiencing pre-recession. So you could say there's been a bit of a recovery there. One thing, and I suppose it comes back to the barriers to growth. Quite often, what we find, the finance is there.
Okay.
And there's also things like the North East Fund where they're probably prepared to take a bit more risk than mainstream, but where the barriers really are, number one, there's probably an information barrier where actually how do companies find out about all this finance that's available? Some of it may be locked in London or the Southeast, and actually how do they package the different types of investments together to make it work for them? So that quite often the money's there, but do people know about it? How accessible is the information to access that information, to access that funding, but also understand how different funding types can work together to provide that whole solution. That's quite often people don't necessarily have an understanding of that if they haven't been through it before. But the other thing is, again, there's people out there looking for investments, but I think business owners have got to understand equally how to present their business as being investor ready. So it's an investable proposition for those people with the finance to invest.
So just to interrupt you, sorry for a second there, Colin. Just to ask you then, with sort of the challenges that exist and the sort of the groundwork that certainly the LEP is laying at the moment, and this sort of mindset that we're now assuming about sort of helping scale up companies. Do you think, are you more confident that in the next 5 years we'll see sort of high business growth develop further in the Northeast? Are things pointing in the right direction, if you will?
Yeah, I think they are. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. As there's a lot of challenges round the corner we could envisage, and there's some. And there's a lot of uncertainty in terms of the direction. So I'm just getting a bit of feedback there.
All right, bit of feedback there.
There we go. But with that, there's opportunity, and I think that where there's challenge, where there's an element of uncertainty, what we, business people are in a prime position to actually exploit that because they can see the opportunities that exist. I think just spreading the Scaleup bug and helping people to understand what high growth business models look like, I think there's a huge opportunity there. But the other thing is that we've got some really fantastic sectors and areas of opportunity in the Northeast. So thinking about the advanced manufacturing sector, we've got some great news in Sunderland with Nizam. There's going to be significant developments in the supply chain, both from companies already within there and inward investment. So we need to capitalise on that. We've got a great, the fastest growing digital sector within the UK. So again, how do we really capitalise on that? Life science, the energy sector again, really strong. So I think it's really focusing down on those things that give us a competitive advantage and really putting everything behind them. And let's not forget the heritage of the region as a trading region. We're the only region who actually exports more than we import. So let's really capitalize on those international linkages we've got, that knowledge of exporting, and help other people do the same. So I think we've got all the building blocks in place. It's just a case of us really capitalizing on them.
The opportunity. No, absolutely. I mean, I fully agree with you, Colin. I speak to many businesses every day, as you can imagine, in the region, and it's, for me at the moment, it seems like we all kind of on the cusp of something collectively. As you say, there's a lot of opportunity to be realised, and it's going to be great to see businesses engage with what the LEP's doing regarding Scaleups. And I would certainly encourage people to go on the website and actually follow that up and have a look at the opportunities that are there. Right, thank you very much, Colin. I'm going to, time is pressing, so I'm going to move on to Laura now, but I'm sure we'll call on your services for some questions later. Thank you very much. Next up, we have Laura Weaving, who is the she's the co-founder, and director of Duo Global Consultancy, based right here in the Northeast. Laura, could you tell us a little bit about your business, please?
Yeah, so we help businesses look at their talent attraction and retention strategies, but through elevation of culture. So a lot of businesses do things with regards to engagement and recruitment activities, but most of it doesn't relate back to culture, and they then become quite a short-term view on things. So we help plan for the longer term. We help businesses look at their vision and their values and how they engage both the people that they've got now and the people that they want to attract in the future.
Oh, okay, excellent stuff. And how long have you been going as a business?
We've been running just over 2.5 years.
Okay, well, that brings me to my first question for you. When we're looking at sort of the infrastructure of new businesses coming onto the region, and one sort of key barrier to growth that we've discussed so far is the support that is available out there to new businesses. Can I ask you how much support that you've had in your growth journey to date?
Yeah, so I guess in terms of formal support, we have used some of the local funding pots, so MBSL, RTC, for smaller sort of growth projects that we've looked at. But really most of our support hasn't been access to finance. Most of it's been just really great people that have surrounded the business, whether that's in a formal capacity, whether that's just, I guess, informal mentors or people that I knew in a previous life and have kind of developed relationships with, and kind of learning from their experiences and their mistakes. I think that if you can learn from a mistake someone else makes and avoid making it yourself, then that's always a positive. Absolutely.
I fully agree with you. I think that's great advice. In terms of, you've been going 2.5 years now. You're in the region. You're an established business. In terms of your growth plans for the future, how do you personally plan to scale up your own business? How can Duo grow?
So we have gone through quite a significant growth path. I mean, I think going from our first to our second year, we had about 450% growth. This year we'll have about 300%. So we've always kind of been on a quick scale-up growth path. The biggest thing for us has been, and I think it's something that a lot of services businesses experience, is obviously your product is the service that you provide and the people that you've got. And it's harder to scale up because you're looking at knowledge of people as opposed to a physical product. But for us, a lot of the things that we do relate to automation. So we use a lot of technology, and we are always looking at what processes can we automate, where do we need to step in as individuals. And then obviously, I guess we're in this business, but investing in people, I think the biggest thing that we tend to find with businesses that stops them from growing is leadership teams who are scared to delegate. They think that nobody can do it as well as they can. So I guess I'm lucky in my business that we have a lot of great people and they all are pulling in the same direction. Everybody's accountable for what they do. So I think making sure that you pass on that information to the people that you've got.
Okay. Another very good good answer. Sorry, it's great advice. Okay, so obviously with your business, it does revolve around providing companies with the right people. In the Northeast, how difficult is it to match talent with high growth firms in the region?
I think there's a lot of things that go into matching talent, but we obviously get this question a lot. It's not that difficult. I think there's a lot of different things that you can do, but I suppose the two golden rules that we tend to work by is, first of all, understanding what you need from somebody as a business. So both from a skill perspective and an attitude behavioral perspective, and making sure that you can match up with that. So most of the companies we work with are high growth, they're scale up businesses, and a lot of things that we see is maybe businesses who go through a lot of positive change. And then maybe we have quite a few clients who are quite acquisitory, and it's making sure that the people that you recruit, they might be great at what they do, but if they are very resistant to change, it will never be a good match. So it's thinking about, can you appeal to the types of people that you need for your business? And then secondly, it's being proactive. The reason that we tend to find that a lot of businesses either can't recruit or spend a lot of money on recruitment is because it's reactive. So it's, oh, somebody's handed their notice in and we need to fill this position, or we've won this project and we need to recruit 10 people tomorrow. If you can be proactive and develop talent pipelines and relationships ahead of needing them, then that will help solve that issue.
Excellent. Okay, no, that's really, really interesting stuff. Again, absolutely. I think we've touched on this issue in the past, that I think certainly when I speak to a lot of MDs or sort of CEOs in the region, I've got countless examples of people citing the skills gap, and being able to retain talent is one of their sort of biggest barriers to growing. It doesn't matter if I'm talking to someone who manages a company of 5 people or 50 or of hundreds. Really getting the right people to, as you say, believe in your culture and your vision, and to have the necessary skills, it's not actually an easy task. But what I'm really interested in is, I think we've got some great institutions here, we've got great talent that's coming out all of the time. How sort of moving forward in the next 5 years, how can we counter the brain drain, and how can we keep the Northeast as an attractive place for people to want to work?
I come from probably a little bit of a different standpoint on the whole skills gap agenda. Okay. And a lot of people would disagree with this, I don't really believe that we have a huge skills gap. I just think we're not doing enough about it. So I think that there absolutely is a gap in skills at a certain point, but if you as an individual business, and I think that's how we tackle it, I think it's up to every business within the market, because one person doing something is not going to make that much of a difference. If you're doing everything that you can to attract the right people, if you are making your business an attractive proposition for graduates coming out of university, if you are looking at the fact that in 10 years' time, you're going to lose some of the really skilled people that you've got, and how are you making sure that you're not only training the people that you've got internally in your business, but looking at how you can bring fresh talent in. Those activities in themselves will solve a skill gap, but you have to put yourself out there. We have a lot of clients who, from a graduate perspective, if we look at it from that side, operate in industries or experience areas that typically are very concentrated in the South, and most of their competitors are in the South, and they're the only ones in the Northeast. And they originally brought us in to try and counter that, and to say, how can we make ourselves an attractive proposition when we continually lose people to London? But it wasn't really about profiling of the Northeast, it's profiling them. And most of the time they were doing a lot more, quality of life was a lot better than their competitors. And I think it's not getting too hung up on geography. The Northeast is a great place to be, and I think if we continue try and convince people to be in the Northeast, that's not the right track that I would go down. It would be convincing people that your company is the place to work, whether it's here or in London. Okay,
no, that totally makes sense. I think that's, again, it's certainly a great way to look at things. I think many people would probably love to have a conversation with you around that, and sort of see how you can help their firms as well. Could you just let everybody know just how people could get in touch with you personally, should they wish to follow anything up after this webinar with you?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we do a lot of free events. I think for me personally, it's a bit of a passion thing to try and let people know that you can do something about the recruitment needs that you have and the retention needs without being held over a barrel and having to pay ridiculous amounts of money. So yeah, we do a lot of free events, so come along to one of those. We also do a signature service that we have called culture mapping, and we offer an initial map of those. We give a couple of those a month for free to businesses that are looking at how culture can help them. So our website, duroglobalconsulting.com, or obviously look me up on LinkedIn.
Okay, excellent. Okay, that's great. Thank you very much for your time, Laura. It's much appreciated. I think in terms of what we're doing today and looking at high growth in the Northeast, I think as someone who's going from startup status to certainly pursuing scale-up status, I think you're an excellent example, and I think people should be certainly happy to hear your views. So that's brilliant. Thank you. Next up, we have Mr. Nigel Wilson, who is the General Manager at ScaleuP. Are you with me, Nigel?
I am.
Excellent. Thank you very much for coming in on this. Now, for me, I know a great deal about ScaleuP. I know a lot about the growth story, and they've certainly, for a Newcastle headquartered firm, have been an outstanding success story for the Northeast. Just for those sort of tuning in today, could you tell us a little bit about ScaleuP, please?
Yes, ScaleuP, we're an IT consultancy, so we provide high quality, bespoke software development, testing, project management services to a range of clients. We do a lot of work for the big investment banks, financial institutions, asset managers, and work in public sector and various things as well. So, you know, headquartered in Newcastle, as you say, over 200 people across the UK now, in business 11 years, and looking forward to the next 11.
Excellent, excellent. It's great to hear, Nigel. Thank you. So certainly, as we've touched on, you've had a tremendous amount of growth. In particular, there's been a great number of new hires to support what you guys are doing there. I'm very interested in Newcastle and in the Northeast. So for when you were recruiting for the Newcastle office, did you find that the region had enough readily available talent?
Well, there's certainly a great talent pool within the region. We've obviously grown significantly. Our HQ is still in Newcastle. I would say whichever market, whichever region you're in, I think, and whatever the market's doing, it is always very difficult to you know, get hold of the very best people. We built our whole business model on quality, high caliber technologists, and to do that, there only ever is a limited talent pool, whichever region you're in. So yes, there is a good talent pool in the Northeast of readily available talent, but we wouldn't use that necessarily as the only approach to attractive people. We want to get some experienced people in, of course, but for our business and to get the growth we need and to invest in longevity in the region and in the business generally, we do a lot of work to build that pipeline of people. We invest heavily in bringing in quite a large number of graduates each year, bringing them in and training them up within the business as well. So I think there's, I think you need to be much more creative than just relying on going out to the market and trying to pull the people that are there. You need to kind of, so we need to kind of build our own kind of talent pipeline, I think, as Laura puts it.
Okay, no, that's great. It's really interesting. Okay, so you've touched on that, on the talent. How much emphasis do you place on upskilling your own workforce? So how important is in-house training to a company like ScaleuP that has shown a lot of growth?
Well, it's very important to us, really. As I've said, you know, there only ever is a limited availability of supply in terms of the experienced people you want to get in. And for the people we hire, we very much want them to have a long-term career with us. And part of that is developing each of them as individuals, giving them some exciting projects to work on, getting them exposed to some really interesting work that we do for a range of kind of blue chip clients, both in the UK and internationally. And that's, you know, part of our retention strategy, because, you know, we want to get hold of the right kind of people. We want to keep hold of them as well. So providing, you know, a strong career path, providing opportunities to grow, and develop within the organization is really important to us. That helps us because effectively we're growing the kind of talent that we really need to develop our business going forward. And for the individuals, it remains that Scott Logic is an exciting place to work where you can grow your career.
Okay. To take that point and to talk about some of the good stuff that's been happening, I think what would really interest our audience, and I mean, I won't know some of this, but I would really like to hear from you about why the business has undergone such a strong period of growth. What are sort of the pillars behind that?
I think there are a number of factors, really. As we've grown, we've strengthened the business, we've diversified our range of services and our client base. But what we've always done is held on very strongly to the core values when we established the business. So, making sure that we have, really the very best people working for us. We could grow the business more, but we're not going to sacrifice the kind of quality bar in terms of the people that necessarily we would take on board, and also in terms of the kind of work we would do. We've got to keep Scott Logic an interesting place for people to work. We do that by remaining true to our core values, really, and the culture. And we invest a lot in worrying about what are we like as an employer, what does our employer brand look like externally, what does it feel like internally. We've done a lot of good work looking at employee engagement and all those kind of good things to kind of keep people on that journey with us. As the business grows, there's opportunity for individuals to grow. And if you stay true to that core, then actually growing the business becomes easier because our clients see that we've got a real passion for what we do. Our people are bought into the vision of where the company's going, and they appreciate the service they get from an organization like Scott Logic. Yeah.
That's absolutely, that certainly makes sense. When we think about scale firms, sort of in the wider perspective, I think you can often get a bit of a pessimist versus optimist view, and I think people can sort of different ways as to how companies should grow. What I'm quite interested in touching on here is the role of the government with scale-up companies. I think at the minute the scale-up, well, certainly for a long time, actually, the Scaleup Institute have been pioneering for the government to accept scale-up status as an actual, a real barometer of growth. And I think a lot of, you get a lot of people who always say that the government should be doing more. But I think from your point of view, currently working for such a fast-growing firm, what I would like to ask you is, could the government be doing more to help high-growth British businesses scale up?
That's a very interesting question, and everyone will be aware there's quite a lot of potential change in terms of the broader economic and political climate right now.
Yes.
So it's hard for me to speak generally for every kind of scale-up, but certainly from the perspective of our business, we're in a lucky position that we are relatively well established now. In terms of going back to the factors raised at the top of the webinar in terms of cash, customers, and capacity. We're in a lucky position that because of our strong brand and the reputation we've got in the market, that we're able to find new work. We're economically stable and able to fund our growth. So capacity and skills is one of the key areas that certainly I focus on and worry about. And again, building that long-term talent development pipeline is certainly something that we look at there. The broader climate's quite interesting. Most people in business will say, well, what we really want is stability. Now, there is an element of that works quite well, but I think, for a business like ours and working in technology, we always look for the opportunity in change. And I think, if there are broader changes in terms of legislation, which markets we're in, which markets we trade at, we will look to find the opportunity in that as a supplier of technology services and make the very best of that. And indeed, we feel very proud in the fact that headquarters in Newcastle, we're exporting services. We work for clients in the financial sector across Europe, Middle East, America. So for us, sometimes some of those changes aren't all negative.
Yeah, I know that's it's so interesting here, and actually certainly refreshing to hear from a business in your current standpoint as well. So I very much appreciate that. Thank you very much, Nigel. We're going to actually move on now to another Nigel. We have Nigel Hudson, who is the marketing director at UtilityWise. Let's see if he's here. Nigel, are you with us? Sorry, I can't quite hear you yet.
Again, okay.
Sorry, that's better.
Yeah, it just muted the microphone. Okay. Good timing.
Not a problem. How are you, Nigel? Are you okay?
I'm very well, thank you very much.
Excellent, excellent. It's good to have you with us. I think the signal perhaps isn't the best there, but that's okay. I'm sure we can. I'm sure we can crack on.
We'll do our best.
I mean, utility-wise, it's now one of the biggest sort of names when I think of Northeast companies. You've had an absolutely phenomenal growth journey. I think, unlike our other sort of speakers that we've on today, I think utility-wise is actually sort of at the top of its game, where certainly other businesses in the region would like to aspire to and to get to. So I think to open up, I'd like to ask you a bit of a general one, really. Utility-wise, are you an anomaly, or is there hope for others in the Northeast to follow suit?
No, I wouldn't say at all that we're an anomaly. I think there's a lot of other successful high growth businesses in the Northeast. Names that we're all aware of. I think if you boil it down and look at what actually is behind our success, it comes down to sound business thinking and execution. The business started just over 10 years ago by Jeff Thompson, and he spotted an opportunity. So it was a deregulation of the energy markets, and he was first in at the right time with an understanding of the customer, developed great products and a fantastic executional plan. He onboarded great people, developed great systems that would streamline and ensure that we delivered efficiently. And I think probably a key thing is clarity of purpose, strong leadership, and just that relentless ambition to grow and keep raising the bar. Probably a little bit of luck along the way, a bit of bravery, but I think those are ingredients that should be a part of any strong business plan. So certainly I wouldn't say we're an anomaly. Okay,
that's certainly good to hear. I think that's what we all wanted to hear anyway. Okay, we've talked a lot, or we've tried to today. We've tried to talk a lot about barriers to entry to really to growing quickly. Obviously, utility-wise have done it. Do we have a good enough infrastructure in the Northeast for firms to go on and experience high growth, do you think?
Yeah, there's an ongoing debate about infrastructure. The first thing I'd want to say is that I don't think firms should be waiting for infrastructure investment as a basic enabler for growth. If you've got the right business idea, strategy, funding, and ambition, the growth will materialize. The challenge, of course, is sustaining growth. And that's, so if you like, sustaining and accelerating growth can certainly be supported by stronger infrastructure. And as you would expect me to say, this region's businesses deserve a world-class infrastructure so we can fully realize our potential and boost the achievements that we've made. So we agree where there are calls for investment in roads and rail links and transport generally, because that will help successful businesses accelerate their growth. It'll give us access to new markets and more talent and so on. So projects like Northern Powerhouse are great, and it's good news. Any additional infrastructure investment for the region. Of course, we're making up for lost time, so any additional support is very much welcomed. But I certainly wouldn't put it there as an excuse for not being able to generate growth as a business. Okay,
thanks a lot. Okay, so in terms of the growth journey, I'd quite like to touch on how, as you said, Jeff started it a while ago now. I'm very interested in hearing you tell us a little bit about how utility-wise has changed itself as the business has grown. So, for example, have you acquired more help in leadership positions or anything like that to help sort of keep propelling you forward?
Yes, I would say, I mean, we've grown from a startup in 10 years to over 1,400 colleagues across the group now, and we have offices headquartered in Newcastle with offices in Prague, in Redditch, in Portsmouth, Chesterfield, and Bury St Edmunds. So we're spread around the UK, and of course that has driven the need for change. And of course we've needed to both develop our own staff, our own colleagues, and ensure that they're able to take us to the next level, as well as recruiting new skills and resources into the organisation to help with leadership. Now, at the moment, the exec team consists approximately of about 50% homegrown talent who have been with the business for a period of time and have developed and grown into those roles, and there's about 50% that have come from the outside in the last 2 to 3 years to help accelerate the growth of the business for the next stage.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's again really good stuff to hear. Okay, so I guess what that naturally leads me on to, as a region, I really believe, and certainly at Bdaily we believe, you should always sort of strive to continue growing, continue innovating. It's what sort of builds the news, certainly from my selfish point of view, really. From the point of view of the region, for us to really galvanise as a collective. So what I'm quite keen on asking you, I guess, is how do you avoid plateauing after enjoying so much growth? So how did you, utility-wise, continue to innovate, as you've touched on?
Yeah, I think there's a number of factors. I think it's wired into our DNA, this obsessive drive for growth. So come and spend just a few hours in utility-wise, and you'll understand culturally why there's nobody even thinking about standing still. But we work in an environment, a very interesting market. We're in the utilities sector, which is undergoing somewhat of a revolution. There's innovation around us. There's restructuring of markets. There's new types of energy supply, clean energy. There's new types of generation. There are new entrants to the market. There's new technologies that we can exploit. And there's just a huge opportunity for us to grow from what is a reasonable base of about just over 30,000 customers, but in a market of nearer 2 million businesses. So we see massive growth potential. And with the significant change that's going on, it's not difficult for us to focus on where the opportunity is. For example, the water market deregulates this year, and 1.2 million businesses in England will be able to switch supplier. And somebody's got to help them do that. And utility-wise, by innovating with technology and services, we'll put ourselves in a position to take advantage of that opening market. So there's just huge opportunity open to us, and we've built a team of people that are hungry for growth. Innovation is one of those things. I think now, if you don't innovate, you get left behind. If you don't disrupt, you get disrupted. So it's not an event. It's part of a process, and it's wired into our DNA to keep working on how we reinvent ourselves to take advantage of opportunity and to defend our market position that we've built. Okay.
No, that's again, Nigel, that's absolutely brilliant to hear. I just want to actually just to say quickly thank you to all of our guests so far. I think we've got some questions, but perhaps before I go on with them, I think I'd quite like to, after hearing you all, I'd quite like to ask you all something. So if anyone wants to sort of take it, just raise your hand, and I can come to you. I think sort of what Nigel's just said there, that growth is wired into our DNA. I think, but utility-wise, that should be the top line too. Utility-wise, I think that's a really good way of putting it. I think after reading the Scaleup report earlier this year, what they really try and sort of pioneer is having a growth mindset. So this sort of idea of, okay, we don't just want to turn over what we're turning over currently. We don't just want to make a living. We want to all better ourselves. We want to add more to the economy. We really want to go beyond our limits. Now, I think, and not to be detrimental to the region at all, but I do think that complacency is perhaps a barrier in itself. How would you all encourage people to get into that growth mindset, to really sort of believe in themselves? Would anyone be able to touch on this at all?
Well, I'll just throw a few thoughts out there. I actually think if you create an environment where it's safe for people to experiment without fear of failure, and an environment where failure is accepted, fail fast and improve and iterate and so on, I think you will tap into resources that may otherwise be hidden in individuals who might otherwise fear for their jobs. You would tap into sort of hidden talent that you may not feel exists within your current workforce. So yeah. I think culture is an environment is just a major driver towards encouraging and unlocking potential that exists within your current community.
Okay. Thanks, Nigel. Yeah, absolutely. I do agree. Just to come back to Colin, actually, I think this certainly links well with that overall mentality which the LEP has, and which it's trying to sort of push out there to the region. How do you think that we can develop a higher level of growth aspiration in the region? How can we really get companies to want to be better, if you will?
Yeah, I think one of the things we need to do is we need to tell the good stories. We've all talked about, well, there's obviously some great examples of Scaleups today. We're probably not shouting about them as much. We're probably not telling the stories and spreading them as far and as wide as we can. So I think having those role models, those people who others can really connect with, and can identify with, and almost put themselves in that place, is really important. So there's a big thing we need to do in terms of storytelling and helping people understand that people just like them have done it. If they've made that leap, they've actually scaled a business. So that it's within their capabilities to do the same. I think equally that's really one of the things we want to achieve through the mentoring program. It's about business people mentoring business people. So that person who's probably, from a pretty similar background to the majority of other entrepreneurs, other people running businesses, but they've actually grown it that bit further along the chain than them, and they can actually dedicate a bit of that time to show other people that they can do it, and hopefully give them the self-belief and confidence to do so.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's absolutely spot on there, Colin. We have got a couple of questions which have sort of trickled through here. Again, if anyone would like to take it, just please raise your hand and I'll be able to see you and allocate it to you. This actually follows on quite nicely from what Colin's just been saying. But the firms who have actually successfully scaled up in the Northeast, could those firms be in a position where they could then advise sort of aspiring scale-ups? So for those firms which are growing at a quick rate, is there a way that they could be then sort of giving their expertise back? I think, again, I mean, Colin, I don't want to sort of come back to you because, you have sort of talked about that a lot, but maybe if I just sort of go to Laura here. Laura, you're in a position now where the growth is absolutely brilliant, and you're wanting to push on further. Do you think you would benefit personally in your business? Would you benefit from having big firms who have been there and done that? Would that help you if you could have an access to speak to them?
Yeah, I mean, it does help us. We already do that. So I think there's a number of ways that you can do it. I mean, we're part of the Entrepreneurs Forum and we get involved with a lot of things that they do, and that is all about people telling their story, and less about sort of networking things, but more about how can we learn from things that you've done. But I think a big thing is that it's just asking people. I mean, maybe that's just me, but I ask people things all the time. And I think it's about just reaching out to somebody and saying, look, we're having this issue. Have you had that issue? Have you been through something similar? But I think it's definitely about people not being afraid to share their story. That's a lot of the thing when we start with businesses. They already have a great culture. They just are not shouting about it. And I think it's being out there a little bit more and being proud of what you've done and getting out there and telling people about it.
Okay, no, that's brilliant. So question for Nigel Wilson here at Scott Logic. So you know, Nigel, your firm is in that position of having the high growth and being a great example to others in the region. How do you guys engage with the media? How do you shout about your successes and raise your own profile?
We try and do it in a number of ways. I mean, we have the traditional PR routes. We're quite keen that we not only promote kind of our services to potential customers, but also our employer brand out in the market. We do a lot of activity around, being at the right kind of places where people hang out. We get involved in, hackathons and coding type events, which technical people get involved in. So we do a lot of that kind of community outreach within the developer community, the traditional kind of recruitment fairs. We have open evenings at our offices. So we're constantly trying to look at activities, events, PR, and sharing good news about what we're doing and what our people are doing, which I think people like to see. They look at the success that we've had with a lot of the projects that we've delivered for some, pretty impressive clients, and people want to be part of that. So we try and kind of sustain that buzz and talk about that in the various different ways that we can, and particularly when it comes to talent attraction, reaching out into the places, having a message that's relevant for that audience, and hanging out in the places where those people hang out in terms of that technical community. Okay,
no, that's really interesting. I think people would like to know sort of about that, because I think, as you've all sort of touched on at one point, it can be sort of a barrier again in itself to almost talk about yourself as a company and talk about what you're doing. I think certainly what I find in the Northeast is that we're almost a humble region. We've got great things going on. Colin talked about a lot at the start about advanced manufacturing, digital, the exports that we do. We've got great energy firms, tech firms. We've got people who can put companies and people together. But it's almost like there is this collective mindset of we're almost a little bit too too much in our shells. So I think from Bdaily's point of view, certainly what I would like to continue doing, certainly here, would be to continue to shout about the successes that yourselves have, that other firms in the region have, and I think that can help us collectively together overcome that barrier. But I think just to round things off, guys, I think for me personally, it's been very, very interesting to have you guys together today. I think for our audience, it will be as well. I know you're all very busy people, so I do appreciate that. I think we've got time then for one more question here. Yes. So just to finish off with each of you guys, I would like to just sort of look at the rest of the year and sort of hear what you're most excited about. So I think I'll go to Colin first. So Colin, for 2017, out of the barriers that we've discussed, what are you most sort of excited about tackling with what you're doing at the LET?
I think what I'm most excited about is taking the growth hub to the next level. We started off with a digital growth hub in the Northeast, which was very innovative and very, very, very unique within the country. But where we'll be moving next is developing a particular strand or customer journey through the growth hub that's targeted at companies who are either scaling or have scale-up potential. I think one of the things that really excites me about that, it's working with great organisations. You mentioned the Entrepreneurs Forum, the universities, and kind of really bringing that ecosystem together to kind of get behind the plan and help us achieve the objectives. So I think it's really, in terms of the support that's available, it's moving to that next level, and that really excites me. And just within that, it's having businesses at the heart. It's the scale-up community, who are really going to help drive that, which is really exciting.
Okay, thanks, Colin. I really appreciate it, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what the lab does this year. I'll be keeping a close eye, so no doubt I'll speak to you soon. I'll just move on to Laura now, just to get a sort of a closing comment. What about yourself, Laura? What are you most looking forward to this year?
We're we're doing more development on the things that we can do just to help businesses appreciate the power that culture can have, and looking at that. So we're doing a range of events. We're doing some private dinners, which will be quite exciting with some really great speakers. We're doing, like I say, the culture mapping service that we've sort of put our stamp on. So just excited to get out there and kind of show people, a different way of thinking.
Okay. No, that's absolutely. I'll be badgering you, and I'm sure I'll keep in the loop as much as I can do. That sounds excellent. I'll just move on to our first Nigel Wilson. Just a closing comment from you, Nigel, please.
We're really looking forward to 2017 and the year ahead. We made quite a bit of investment last year in terms of some senior hires and additional infrastructure in the business. We've got some fantastic technologists with some great ideas, and we do quite a lot of internal R&D and innovation. So I'm quite excited to getting to market with some of the new services and ideas that we've got for this year, and some ambitious growth for the year ahead. Certainly, in terms of being a scale-up and that growth mindset, we're still very positive about the growth for this year, and very much looking forward to it.
Okay. Thanks again for your time, Nigel. That's been brilliant. It's been lovely to have you speaking with us. Thank you very much. And utility-wise, Nigel Hudson, what about yourselves? What's next for utility-wise?
We've got loads on. As I mentioned earlier, we're very excited about helping the 1.2 million businesses who will be able to find new water deals in the market because of the deregulation of the water sector. So we'll be trying to get more than our share of that market. And the other thing we're doing, we're launching some really exciting new technology with Dell and Intel that is all about helping businesses implement controls into their operations and control energy consuming devices, make sure that they're switched off when they should be switched off, make sure that they're turned down when they should be turned down, which is all around delivering reductions of around 20% of usage. So saves money and of course reduces carbon emissions. So that's a major breakthrough for our customer communities.
Right. Okay. Right, that's brilliant. I'd just like to say we've actually, they're all coming through now. We've had so many questions come through that unfortunately we haven't got the time to answer all of them. This is just sort of me addressing our audience before we sign off. Should you wish to follow up on today's webinar, my details should be there in the blurb on YouTube or on Hangouts, however you're watching this. Please do get in touch if you'd like to sort of talk more. As I say, I am very sorry that we can't get to all of the questions, but I would just like to invite our viewers really to join me in thanking our speakers today. It's certainly been very, very insightful, and I look forward to continuing a close eye keeping a close eye on what all of you are doing in 2017. Yes, here's to the Northeast and more future growth there. Well, yes, thank you very much, and we'll be signing off now. Thanks a lot, guys.